Hi, welcome to Happy Home Crazy Mom, because I'm still crazy and our home still seems to be happy. But today I wanted to share an insight that I had this last week when dealing with my older children, my adult children that have come home. Now, just a little backstory. When they first came home, so my son served a mission for our church for a couple years, and my daughter went to college. She had started a mission too. And they both were coming home this year to kind of be home for a while, for like 3 or 4 months each, and my son for a little bit longer. Anyway, so as they came home, I thought, okay, we need to prepare. We need to make sure that we have be on the same page with expectations, because I've had adults in my home before that have shared the home, and it's been uncomfortable because, anyway, it just becomes uncomfortable, and I don't like uncomfortable. To me, uncomfortable means something could be fixed, if possible, so let's explore it. So anyway, so we went into it, we're like, okay, guys, you are not going to be dependent on us. You've got to be independent, okay? You've got to be taking care of these responsibilities. You need to be da-da-da-da-da. You're not going to be moochers, right? And so, in the next few months, they, created their schedules, but there was more and more resentment when it came to, like, working in the home together. Because I would feel like, oh, they're not doing the job that they should be doing, and they would resent my interference because they were independent adults, right? And so we created this conflict that, again, is that feeling of discomfort that I've noticed in previous experiences. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with this? And so I've been praying about it, thinking about it, and it hit me the other day that the problem is I've been focusing on dependence versus independence, and I'm missing what Stephen R. Covey says actually the higher way of doing things, and that's interdependence. That's when you realize that, yes, we're independent people, but by nature, we all depend on other people. We do. It's the nature of humanity. In my home, yes, I want my children to be independent thinkers. I don't want to tell them what to do. But we're still dependent on each other. They're still dependent on people who clean the toilets. They're still dependent on Quinn and I who provide the food. And we're still dependent on them to take care of their areas. We're dependent for our overall vision of how our home is going to go. We are interdependent. And it was neat to have this conversation with them because this is how it went. I said, and it's okay. So over the last few months, at different points, I've felt inspired to say, okay, I'm not going to hold you responsible for these different jobs anymore. Well, so Tova, I said that, my oldest. I said, okay, I feel like my job is not to tell you what to do with jobs anymore. And so that turned into independence, and she became even more isolated, and my son too. They kind of created their own place, and they'd be distant. They'd come and join things with the family, but they were excited for their independence. I mean, there was this feeling of we weren't meshing. They weren't meshing. And it's interesting because my next oldest children, my 17-year-old and my 15-year-old and whatnot, we were feeling like we could work together, but they still had a lot of autonomy, and I feel like we really kind of have created this interdependence mentality with them that I had never created before with my older children because of whatever situations. So this is how my conversation went with my older kids. I picked them up from work one day and I said, okay, you guys haven't been responsible for some jobs for a while now because you want to create this feeling of independence for you, and you want to be independent, and you've done a really good job doing that. And I said, but something feels wrong in our home. It doesn't feel healthy, our relationships. And as I've been praying about this, the thought came to mind, we need to focus on interdependence rather than dependence. We need to acknowledge that we're dependent on each other. We need to acknowledge that we're all in a situation as a family, and hopefully forever, I always want to have that feeling that I need them and they need me. This feeling of independence is a false one. And so I want to create a feeling of we do need each other, but I also want them to feel free to do what they need to do. And so it was neat because I said that, and then I said, I feel like we should try to look at what interdependence feels like. And then I said this, I said the cool thing about interdependence is I don't know what that looks like for you two. Because you're independent, because you're adults, you determine what interdependence looks like from you, and you find the answers there. And it's been really neat to see them feel more a part of our family again. It's really been a cool feeling. I didn't give any suggestions or anything. I just said, let's strive for interdependence versus independence. And for some reason, just throwing out that term, and if you haven't read Stephen R. Covey's book, it's been a long time for me, so I'm not very good at recounting or replaying what that is. But there's a feeling of you need each other, but you also are autonomous to a degree. It's just a feeling. It's kind of like trying to tell someone what salt tastes like who's never tasted salt before. It's really neat how you can focus on a word and an idea, and your spirit, your gut, your instincts will help you to create that reality. So strive for interdependence versus independence, and definitely not dependence. That's super unhealthy. Codependency, ugh, nasty. I don't like going there. So look it up, strive for it, and I really feel like in my heart I see a difference in our family's relationships, but I think it makes a big difference with people that we need to be interdependent, acknowledge the dependencies we have on each other, and then move forward with striving for that rather than dependence or independence. So keep going for it, even if you have older children. This is great. I'm so excited for what this is going to mean for my family in the future, and I'm sure I'm going to fail again and again like I have already with my previous things I've talked about in these different videos. I know these ideas are great and lofty and ideal, but why not shoot for them, right? Even though we fall again and again and again. So just keep trying, keep doing those principles that you feel like are important to you, and good luck. And just see you next time. And from Happy Home Crazy Mom, Merry Christmas.